You're listening to the Travis Makes Money podcast presented by GoHighLevel.com. For a free 30-day trial of the best all-in-one digital marketing software tool on the planet, just go to GoHighLevel.com/Travis. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Travis Makes Money podcast, where it's our mission to make you more money this year. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about online businesses with my good buddy, Justin Schenck. Justin's an entrepreneur, speaker, and host of the top-rated podcast, The Growth Now Movement. He's been named a top 8 podcaster to follow by Inc. magazine, featured in Thrive Global, and chosen as an icon of influence in the new media space. Justin, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
Travis, man, thanks for having me, dude. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course, man. Let's start with a softball question here. How do you currently make money?
Yeah, dude, I think I'm the typical, 2025 entrepreneur, multiple streams of income that have evolved over time. So obviously I'm a speaker, so I do get paid to do that. But I also own an events business where I host my own events called Growth Now Summit Live and Growth Now Immersion, which is more of retreat style types of things. And I also run a mastermind of incredible 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. And then I happen to own a service-based business called Podbrand as well, where we help podcasters create social media content so they can reach more people with their show. And so that's just happened over time. And I feel like most conversations I have around money, most entrepreneurs are doing the multiple streams of income.
Yeah. Where did you get started in all this? Like, what were you doing before you were doing stuff online?
Yeah, man, I was just a corporate guy, right? I was in medical sales management, did really, really well, but always had that itch to be an entrepreneur, be my own boss, create my own schedule, and not work a ton, right? My whole claim to fame now is I work 2 to 3 hours a day, and I make more money than I've ever made before, just because I was able to set up businesses that way. And that's actually why I started the podcast 9 years ago. I wanted to sit down with entrepreneurs, pick their brain, and just figure out how to do it. I didn't realize I'd grow an audience. I didn't realize I could grow businesses off the back end. Because if you think about it, 9 years ago, you say to somebody, "Oh, I've got a podcast," and then we go, "What's a podcast?" Yeah. Right? It's just such a different world now, and the rest kind of began by accident, right? And I did what most entrepreneurs do first, which is podcast production, which was the first business that I built, and exited that and evolved into more things. But I think more than anything, it was just it started with curiosity, right? I was just really curious of how people were able to build businesses, make money, and just be their own boss. And I was able to figure that out over the last 9 years.
Yeah, 9 years, bro. I mean, that was, so you started back in like 2016, the podcast?
It was March of 2016. So we're actually coming right up on the 9-year anniversary.
That's crazy, man. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
What made you start the podcast back then?
It was the idea that I saw that it could be a vehicle to connect with people that I couldn't connect to otherwise, right? Like if I emailed somebody and was like, "Hey, can I pick your brain?" It was a hard no, right? We all hate those messages. But if I emailed somebody and said, "Hey, I'd love to have you on my show," well, back then they would go, "Well, wait, what is that? I have to do what? I have to get on Skype and you're going to record it, right?"
Skype,
dude, they're shutting down officially.
I saw that, dude. I saw that. You know what? It's couldn't have happened too soon. You know what I mean? Like it was about time for that one to be sunset. But that was how my podcast started too. It was 100% audio only Skype interviews back in the day.
Yeah, man. And you know what's funny? Like I thought to myself, I always recorded the video, but I didn't ever do anything with it. And the reason I recorded the video. Well, no, but here's the sad part. I was like, I never posted it anywhere. And I was like, who wants to sit there and watch 2 talking heads next to each other, right? Because you're just side by side. And then COVID happened. And everybody was watching talking heads. Yeah. And the external hard drive that I have all those files on corrupted. And I don't have any of that content anymore.
Oh, no.
For years and years. And so it was probably late 2019, I may have started posting the videos, maybe late 2018. So there's a couple years, and I was getting big name guests early on. Like I could have really created some really cool social media content with it. But yeah, you live and you learn, right? I think YouTube is something that we're really focusing on now, but probably not until last year. Right. And finally I'm like, all right, I really need to focus on this YouTube stuff. And and so seeing some progress there, which is really cool. But I've always been the audio guy, right? Like I was just like, oh, I'll just put it up and listeners will find me. And I got a couple lucky breaks. Inc. magazine and all the other places that picked it up after Inc. Really drove a ton of traffic to my show and it created a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing, is that it sounds so weird to say, but at the time, podcasting and YouTube were completely separate things. Like they were not looked at as one and the same. Now it's like it's ubiquitous because YouTube, is the number one podcast consumption platform on the planet now, that more people consume podcasts watching YouTube than they do on Spotify or Apple or any of those platforms. But back in the day, like it just wasn't like that. So I didn't record any video at all. We definitely weren't posting any video. And then it was just like, I remember first starting to do captions on video. It wasn't even vertical video yet because it was still, regular aspect ratios. And we started doing like captions on videos with clips and stuff like that. But like that stuff didn't come for a really long time. And frankly, I pushed away. I pushed against it for too long as well, because it was just like, oh, audio's better for this reason, this reason, this reason, and it was just like I was so stuck, defending audio platforms that I didn't realize that it was dumb to not also be on video. It's like, okay, believe audio is better. That's fine. But still put it on video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you
However,
kind of have that.
at the time though, I don't think I would have afforded to be able to do it because like anytime you start introducing video files, it becomes much more expensive or difficult. Like it either is way more time intensive because you don't know how to edit video and you're trying to learn that as a skill, or it becomes really a lot more expensive because you have to pay a producer to actually cut video, which is much more expensive than just cutting audio. So I say that, but it's easier to look back in time and point the finger, but I probably just would have still done it the way that I did it at that time.
Yeah, I had that come to Jesus moment of like, is this the hill that I want to die on, right? And I, went all in on video, and that's where Podbrand came about, right? The reality that 80% of shows do less than 100 downloads. That statistic has been a fact for the last 9 years. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, but learned that statistic about 7 years ago, and I was like, that's crazy, and it still exists today. And I was like, well, with Podbrand, can we help podcasters be seen? Maybe not increase their downloads, but what's reach, right? Like I just had Kurt Angle on my podcast, and his show did, I think we did like 14,000 downloads on the audio side. But then I have a clip that has 150,000 plus views. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so many people that first saw the brand or first saw my face or first, saw anything that I was doing that wouldn't potentially listen to full episodes, right? Because I've had a number of professional wrestlers on, but like I'm not a wrestling podcast. So like that audience won't necessarily be into my show, but they might be into some of the other things that I talk about on Instagram, at my live events, etc. And so I feel like that's the play for most podcasters when I look at where do you want to go with this, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can really focus on, running ads to your show, trying to grow the traffic that way, but it's very, very expensive to actually grow your show that way. But what if you could literally use it as a marketing arm for everything else that you're doing? I look at like I have a live event, and I can see how many people are buying tickets from listening to my podcast. It's still a lot of people through social media than it is my podcast, right? Because
Yeah.
the reason I can see that is because they use a discount code that is only said on the podcast. And
Mhm.
I'm just like, this is crazy. Like social media is still that tool to grow a business, but a podcast helps you build that platform and that brand. And I think more people need to get into it and hopefully do it at a high level, right? Like there's a lot of bad podcasts out there. But with repetition, you get better. I mean, I started out, I was very bad for a long time,
Yeah.
but it just gets better over time.
You mentioned that you were in medical sales before, but now you're making more than you ever made. How long did it take you to match what you were making at your full-time job with your online business?
Yeah, so it took me about 18 months. And the reason it took that long is because I went about it totally wrong. I realized in podcast production, I was literally in a business that I was racing to go broke, right? Everybody was cutting everybody was getting cheaper. So it was more and more work, and I was paying more people to do the work. And as far as like my net income, it wasn't there. And it was actually at an event that I was speaking at down in Florida, where the podcast had taken off, but my business had not taken off yet. I had a conversation with a guy named Mike Kim. Do you know Mike?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so had a conversation with him, and he really kind of flipped the script in my brain of how to actually do business. And I approach it in a completely different way. He goes, "Dude, he was the one who said you're in a business of going broke." He goes, "But you're the only one doing it that was recognized by Inc. magazine." He's like, "Your time and your attention is super valuable." And I went home and made $22,000 in the first 3 weeks when I got home from that event, and I never looked back. And that was really the catalyst to like, oh wait, like there's other avenues other than service-based businesses to make money, and most of my money now comes from like just being myself, which is wild, right? Whether it be ad revenue on the show or whatever. And I just feel super blessed to be able to be in this position because it all comes from a sense of I want to help people, right? I want to have them look at life a little bit differently, just like Mike helped me that however many years ago that was, and just feel really blessed to be able to have that conversation, and then I can step into creating revenue for myself in so many other ways, and always open to new ones too, right? Like I think that, and you talk about this all the time, your other show, Travis Makes Friends, like it's about connection. And then where does that connection go? What opportunities come from it? And when you have as many conversations as you and I have, like more and more opportunity presents itself over time.
Yeah, what was that switch? Like what switched in your mind to go from, you know what, this guy's right. Let me like did you change the offer? Did you change the structure? Did you change the marketing? This like what exactly did you do from a practical standpoint?
Yeah, I changed the offer and the approach, right? Like, so what I was doing before was, hey, let me get your show up and running, and then you can pay us to do the work in the back end. I was not charging up front. I didn't realize at the time that you could charge just for your time, and so it ended up becoming an upfront fee for the coaching, an upfront fee for the startup process of it, and then obviously the long term back end of the production. And it really became the idea of like, I'd rather explain to you the price today than apologize for poor quality later.
Hmm.
And I've always had that mindset, but didn't realize what it looked like in the space that I was in at that time. And so I was no longer the cheapest. I was probably close to the most expensive with what I was doing. But the people wanted to work with me. And I also started to work with higher end quote unquote influencers, people with large following, people in the multiple seven figures a year business. So they didn't want to nickel and dime. They wanted to pay more for a higher quality service, and they were willing to pay up front.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest shift for me, to realize that, like, you know how many conversations I had and calls that I had with people who never even ended up launching the show.
Yeah.
So I was literally just wasting my time with so many people, and that flip was like, okay, cool, let me see how this goes. And the first conversation I had, the person said yes, and then ended up closing three people that week. And I was like, this is the new way to do it. And it was really that mindset shift of understanding that my information is valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And just how to package and structure the offer in a way that communicated that with confidence, basically.
For sure. Yeah. And then it's the evolution from there, right? Like, now to sit down with me, I've priced it at a point where it's like, if you want one-on-one coaching with me, like I priced it at a point where I'm like, okay, I want to do it now. It's not
Yeah.
the easiest to do the one-on-one stuff. I like more the group stuff, the mastermind stuff. But yeah, it's really fun when you get to a place where you're no longer in a sense of a scarcity mindset. Like, hey, I
Yeah.
need this money versus like, hey, I get to create things for people and with people, in order to help them grow.
Talk to me about your mastermind now. What's the structure look like? How much do you charge for it? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's a mastermind for impact-driven entrepreneurs that are six and seven figure earners, and we do two calls a month. The first one's just our group, more like hot seat sessions, and the second call every month, I bring in a guest expert, just utilizing my connections. It's the first time I've really opened the doors to my circle of people that I've been able to build over the last 9 years, and then we meet up twice a year. It's 10K it's 10K a year, and it is literally the greatest collection of humans that I've ever brought together. Rule number one in the mastermind is give more than you receive. And it's funny when I sit down with people who are interested. I've told more people no than yes to be in the mastermind.
Mm.
Um, and the reality is it's that statement and watching their body language that makes me say yes or no. Right? When you realize that you say to somebody, "Hey, this mastermind's about giving more than you receive," and they go, "Ugh, this mastermind's not for you," right? Like I'm a really big believer in give as much as you possibly can, and at some point the universe will repay you. Maybe not in the way that you expected or wanted it, but you will get repaid, man. And it's that idea of like chasing versus giving, that the abundance mindset versus not having that. It's really what flipped the script for me in business, and
Yeah.
relationships, and that's what we bring into the mastermind.
And how many folks do you have in there now?
We have 14 members now.
Nice.
My cap is really 15, just because I like to spend the most time as possible with them. But who knows where that'll lead in the future? Is it different? Is it different types of masterminds, et cetera? It's how so many people are doing it.
Yeah.
Mike Kim, I think at one point had three or four. I really like this because for me, it's really about building those relationships with these great people. Plus, they get to speak on my stage at my event, which is a really cool opportunity for them, and really their first opportunity to step on a stage that isn't like a Podfest or isn't like that type of event, where they get truly highlighted as a rock star.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm getting to do business with them versus like me having to teach them. Like we've built such great relationships.
Talk to me about your personal finances, bro. What do you do with money that comes in for personal versus business? Do you have like a percentage that goes here, percentage that goes here? I have emergency savings. I got a 401k. I do real estate, crypto. Like, talk to me about where your money goes when you get it.
Yeah, I said to you before I hit record, like I never made that first big purchase when I started making money. Like I'm not a things guy, right? Like I still wear the same t-shirts I bought 7 years ago. Like I'm just that person. But for us, my wife and I actually just recently last year started some real estate investing. So that's something that we're really getting into for two different reasons. One, we want to replace our income fully, and then also something to leave her kids, right? And my stepkids. Like I would love to at the end of my life know that we're leaving them 100 doors or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of the investment's going. Obviously,
Just
as an
like single
entrepreneur,
family homes around your area, or
yeah, right now we have three single family homes. Our next purchase will be a multi-unit. Just right now with the mortgage rates and stuff, we're at a pause on the growth with that. But the nice thing is, man, like I work with somebody who handles everything. I don't do any of the work. We're just the money.
yeah,
So I can't get into that deep dive conversation of like what are we looking for in a house or what are we doing this. It's
yeah.
really them.
But you found
But
someone you trusted, though, obviously. Like, so,
yeah, yeah, it's actually a guy in my mastermind who does this for countless people
okay.
and helps them build that portfolio out, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
And we and then we don't manage any of the stuff. Like if a toilet breaks, I'm not getting a call at 3 in the morning. That would be the worst thing in my life.
yeah,
Uh,
right.
so that and then from there, like my wife and I really like experiences, so we travel a lot. We do 5 or 6 vacations a year,
Okay.
that type of thing. But realistically, like I think as an entrepreneur, I'm always like, okay, however much I can save and invest is the best because you
Yeah,
never know what's going to happen in the world. I
right,
look at 2020 when COVID hit. I lost 75% of my income overnight. I was a public speaker in my live events and they just went away.
right.
And like I was like, oh great. Like I went back to making the same money that like 22-year-old Justin was making. And
Yeah,
I was like, I have to figure this out. Hired a coach. I really believe that as an entrepreneur, when you're in a really tough spot, invest in yourself, even if it's scary to do so. But hired a coach who helped me rework my entire business and how I approached everything. And we really focused on a couple of different areas that got me through that time period. So you never know, right? And so, like, for me, it's like, how can I make sure that if I have a bad 6 months, we're good to go. And so it's more of like investing, putting it in good places that it's still accessible, but also making me money. So obviously the real estate and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's been fun figuring that out, right? Like I think over the last 2 years or so, it's been more of a wealth conversation than it has been how do I make more money conversation.
Mm.
And it's more fun playing in that arena for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which is why it's so important to try to do the income piece first, so you can have those more fun wealth building conversations instead of worried about a medical bill that's come down the pipe that you got to go pay.
Yeah, yeah. Like I had to buy two new tires in the last week, and I thought about. I had a flat tire for big screw in it, and I had to replace it. And then literally 3 weeks later, a nail in it had to replace it. I was like, the same tire, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I thought about like how grateful I am that doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah,
Whereas 7 years ago, that would have really affected me.
yeah,
And so just so much gratitude when it comes to those moments now.
absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. Let's move into the last segment here. Just quick random questions, quick random answers. We'll get you out of here. You ready?
Yep.
What profession other than your own do you think that it would have been fun to master?
Sports broadcaster.
If you could,
Dude, oh, it's
sorry,
real
go ahead.
fast. So it's rapid fire. Sports
Yeah,
broadcaster.
yeah. Sports broadcaster. If you could sit on a park bench with someone, past or present, and chat for an hour, who would it be?
My mom.
How do you like to learn best? Books, audiobooks, blogs, podcasts, videos, newsletters?
Books and YouTube in that order.
What's a good money making book or YouTube channel that you'd recommend?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm looking up some books now. Actually, a really good money making book is a guy who's been on my show 3 times. His name's Philip Stutz. It's called The Undefeated Marketing System. Good book.
What is your go to pump up song?
Right now, it's "Let's Do This" by the Skirts or something like that. It's been my theme song when I speak at events. It's the theme song for all my speakers when they speak at my events as of right now. So that's it.
What is something that you are not very good at?
So much rapping. I'm not good at
As we get
rapping.
everything wrapped up here, bro, where can people go to get more from you, Justin?
Yeah, man, they can check out my podcast. So wherever they're listening to this, they can search Growth Now. It'll pop up. I always say, check out a couple episodes. If you like it, click subscribe and come on the journey with me. And then they can check out my events at growthnowsummit.com and Instagram at Justin T. Schenck.
Go check out the Growth Now podcast, whatever app you're listening to. If you like the stuff that we talk about here on this show, you'll love the stuff that Justin's putting out over there. He's been doing it for a really long time. So he knows what he's doing, and he brings on some really great guests and asks them great questions. So go check out some of the stuff that Justin's putting out. I know you will not regret it. Justin, thanks so much for doing this, bro.
Dude, thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Everybody else listening to in, remember, money only solves your money problems, but it's a little bit easier to solve the other problems as well if you got some money in the bank. So let's solve that problem first here on the Travis Makes Money podcast. Catch you next time. Peace out.